Yavanna Javate Manaha Chaitanya Tirtha Yasasam Punya Shloka Yasaskaram Jaya Devam Samagrangam Yavanna Javate Manaha Chaitanya Tirtha Yasasam Chaitanya Tirtha Yasasam Punya Shloka Yasaskaram Jaya Devam Samagrangam Javanna Chavate Manaha Chaitanya Tirtha Yasasam Punya Shloka Yasaskaram Jaya Devam Samagrangam Yavanna Chavate Manaha.
Chaitanya Tirtha Yasasam Punya Shloka Yasaskaram
Punya Shloka Yasaskaram
Jaya Devam Samagrangam
Jaya Devam Samagrangam
Yavanna Chavate
Manaha. Chaitanya Tirtha Yasasam Punya Shloka Yasaskaram Jaya Devam Samagrangam Yavanna Chavate Manaha. Chaitanya Tirtha Yasasam Punya Shloka Yasaskaram Jaya Devam Samagrangam Yavanna Chavate Manaha. Kirtanya
worth singing.
worth singing.
Tirtha Yasasam,
Tirtha Yasasam
the glories of the Lord.
the glories of the Lord.
Punya Shloka
Punya Shloka
of the
of the
devotees.
devotees.
Yashakaram,
Yasaskaram
enhancing the glory.
enhancing the glory.
Jayat,
Jaya
one should meditate.
one should meditate Devam
Upon the Lord.
upon the Lord.
Samagrangam,
Samagrangam
all the limbs.
all the limbs.
Yavat,
Yavat
as much as.
as not
Chavate,
Chavate,
deviates.
deviates.
Manaha,
Manaha
the mind.
the mind.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The glory of the Lord is always worth singing, for His glories enhance the glories of His devotees. One should therefore meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead and upon His devotees. One should meditate on the eternal form of the Lord until the mind becomes fixed. Purport. Is the verse on the board in English?
Yes.
One has to fix his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. When one is accustomed to thinking of one of the innumerable forms of the Lord, Krishna, Vishnu, Rama, Narayan, etc., he has reached the perfection of yoga. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. A person who has developed pure love for the Lord and his eyes are smeared with the ointment of transcendental loving exchange, always sees within his heart the Supreme Personality of Godhead, The devotees especially see the Lord in the beautiful blackish form of Shama Sundar. That is the perfection of yoga. This yoga system should be continued until the mind does not vacillate for a moment, say wander. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Varam Sada Pashanti Suraya. The form of Vishnu is the highest individuality and is always visible to sages and saintly persons. The same purpose is served when a devotee worships the form of the Lord in the temple. There is no difference between devotional service in the temple and meditation on the form of the Lord, since the form of the Lord is the same, whether he appears within the mind or in some concrete element. There are 8 kinds of forms recommended for the devotees to see. The forms may be made out of sand, clay, wood, or stone. They may be contemplated within the mind, or made of jewels, metal, or painted colors. But all the forms are of the same value. It is not that one who meditates on the form within the mind sees differently from one who worships the form in the temple. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is absolute, and there is therefore no difference between the two. The impersonalists who desire to disregard the eternal form of the Lord imagine some round figure. They especially prefer the Omkara, which also has form. It's kind of roundish. In Bhagavad Gita it is stated that Omkara is the letter form of the Lord. Similarly, there are statue forms and painting forms of the Lord. Another significant word in this verse is Punya Shloka Yashaskaram. The devotee is called Punya Shloka. As one becomes purified by chanting the holy name of the Lord, so one can become purified simply by chanting the name of a holy devotee. The pure devotee of the Lord and the Lord himself are non-different. It is sometimes feasible to chant the name of a holy devotee. This is a very sanctified process. Lord Chaitanya was once chanting the holy names of the gopis when his students criticized him. Why are you chanting the names of the gopis? Why not Krishna? Lord Chaitanya was irritated by the criticism. And so there was some misunderstanding between him and his students. He wanted to chastise them for desiring to instruct him on the transcendental process of chanting. The beauty of the Lord is that the devotees who are connected with his activities are also glorified. Arjuna, Prahlad, Janak Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, and many other devotees were not even in the renounced order of life, but were householders. Some of them, such as Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj, were born of demoniac families. Prahlad Maharaj's father was a demon, and Bali Maharaj was the grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. But still they had become famous because of their association with the Lord. Anyone who is eternally associated with the Lord is glorified with the Lord. The conclusion is that a perfect yogi should always be accustomed to seeing the form of the Lord. Unless the mind is fixed in that way, he should continue practicing yoga. End of purport. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Mukam karoti vacha. Namaste Atmaham Vande Shri Gurun Vinataranam. This is say the essence of yoga in this verse. The ultimate goal of the yogic practice to reach the stage which sometimes termed as samadhi. His consciousness is completely fixed, undisturbed. Bhagavad Gita, even right at the very beginning, we find instructions from the Lord to Arjuna to fix his mind, not just to withdraw his mind from the material objects. Mind has to be focused on something. It never stops, whether it's the round form of the impersonal Brahman, or whether it's the two-armed form of Krishna, or whether it's material objects, material aspirations. The mind doesn't stop. Always thoughts are coming. Krishna explains they're like rivers entering into the ocean. They never stop flowing. Or the waves of the ocean never stop coming. So yoga is the process of not just becoming undisturbed by the waves of material desire. And as Krishna explained, it is to actually develop a higher state of thought, instead of just having to fight to withdraw one's senses from the material sense objects. But the process of focusing our mind on something higher, Param Dishra Vartate. Savayana Krishna Padavadindava Chansivatam Gurmanavamaya. One great devotee named King Ambarish, how he demonstrated how we can fully engage our mind without engaging the senses appropriately. It's very hard to focus our minds. Senses are like lenses of the camera. And they're constantly taking images, impressions through the ears, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, touch. Constantly taking impressions of our interaction with the material world, with other living entities, which are impressed upon our mental plane, which is like a mirror reflecting those impressions. The process of Krishna consciousness is described by, I don't know, maybe in this chapter by Lord Kapila, how he describes how Lord Shiva becomes very auspicious. He's already auspicious. Shiva means auspicious, most auspicious. He becomes still more auspicious by taking the water which has washed Lord Vishnu's lotus feet upon his head. Because that water, we know as the Ganga in this world, that water, because it's touched the Lord's lotus feet, has become completely unlimitedly sanctified, purified, auspicious. And anyone who touches that water also gains that opportunity to become auspicious. And he takes that water on his head, all humility. This is a secret we were reading yesterday. What makes a man a king is not the crown upon his head, but when his head is adorned. The word for words of point, King Kurushota. When he makes the crown on his head, the lotus feet of the Lord. That's what makes a king a king. Not some artificial, reflective idea that we're something special in this world. But one who's taken that lotus feet of the Lord is his crown. places his head humbly at the Lord's lotus feet. It goes on just as he does meditation on the Lord's lotus feet, acts just like the thunderbolt of King Indra, which smashes mountains to pieces. Prabhupada describes at length how meditation on the Lord destroys them, as Indra smashes mountains with his thunderbolt. Meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord smashes mountains of sin within our hearts to pieces. When we say sin, many people think of just maybe some reaction, some thoughts about sinful activity. It's a very, almost all-pervasive covering of our consciousness, deep cloud. It's like a very deep cloud in the sky generally has very heavy rainfall. Under certain circumstances, the rain comes down, and it can be very heavy. So these impressions in our heart, kutas and bijas, tendencies and desires, are results of our past activity. And others, we sometimes tend to identify ourselves with them. Nothing unusual. As being me, but they're not. They're just visions, pictures on the mental plane, the subtle plane, of various impressions we picked up over our sojourn in this Brahmanda, this material world. The secret of yoga is to focus using our intelligence on something which will purify, not just replace. We may be able to replace those thoughts with other things. People endeavor to replace bad thoughts with good ones, bad action with good action. Maybe some endeavor is there if they understand what good and bad is. But that alone is not sufficient. That just means that our condition is still within the modes of nature, within the material world. We have to focus on something which will purify. We can't do it though. We may desire. Of course there has to be a desire there. And emphasis is placed here on the desire of the devotees. It's like when Prabhupada came to the Western world, he explained how by your will, my Lord, all the living entities have come into this material world. And by your will, they can all be delivered from this world. You could say the relative meaning of that from our perspective is that because of our desire, the Lord has placed us in this world. Otherwise we can't come here. It's not within our power. And we may desire to get out of this world, but it's not within our power to get out of it. It's only when the Lord wills. We have to get His will. He's left His will in the form of Bhagavad Gita. He leaves His will through His pure devotees. These are non-different than Krishna. By meditating on Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the 18th chapter, one who reads this Bhagavad Gita worships me with his intelligence. Worshipping Krishna, studying Bhagavad Gita. In many ways, as Prabhupada has mentioned here, worshipping, remembering Krishna. Directly or indirectly. We may not even be conscious that we're remembering Krishna. It's a good fortune. People have this opportunity to chant Hare Krishna, to get Srila Prabhupada's books, take prasad in so many ways. They don't know necessarily what's going on any more than they may be hearing some people dance and sing and it sounds good, and eating some nice tasty vegetarian food, whatever it is. They're getting an imperceptible good fortune of touching the saintly, the lotus feet of the Lord. Thus becoming purified. It purifies. It purifies us of the tendencies and desires. The more we focus our consciousness on the transcendence, the emphasis placed here upon the form of the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita, which verse maybe in the 18th chapter. Under the study of the Gita, there's every page has got more marks on than there aren't marks. May as well just mark the whole book. Every word is transcendental. I think it's text 65, I may be wrong. Let's see. Maybe 65. Yeah, maybe this is it. These words, this is the very famous verse, 65, 18th chapter. Who knows this verse? This is kind of in line with today's verse in the Bible time. Pardon? Yeah, we're on the right track there. Finish it off. Very good. What's that mean? Always think of me, right? Always think of me. Is it? Is that what we do? Always think of myself. Huh? Eh? Think of our own so-called self, anyway. All the desires that I've got, all the various wants, and so on and so forth. Thinking about how I'm going to fulfill my desires, my family, my house, my money, my position, my war, so many things. Always thinking my something. Be in the center. When Krishna's speaking, think of him. Why think of him? Why not think of someone else? Why Krishna? Why not someone else? Why not your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your dog, Mr. Trump? Somebody else. Think of someone. He's probably more people in the world are thinking of him than anyone else right now. Isn't it? He's become famous. It's incredible. Whatever he is, we know it. The whole world, not everybody, but so many people just. We saw last night in Melbourne, how many people, lots of people walking through the streets thinking of Mr. Trump and meditating on Trump. They don't understand the solution. Right? It's just the other side of the same coin. The consciousness has to be changed. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said in one of his lectures, he said, one who thinks he can reform the world is in need of reform. No one can change the world but by the breadth of the hair. Everything is allowed or ordained by the supreme will of the Almighty. The only reform which is required is a reform of how we see the world, our perception. We're so busy in trying to change the world, thinking that's going to be the solution, but it won't be. Moving the problem from this side to that side. The problem remains, but we're an illusion. We've forgotten our identity. We're trying to adjust our false identity to be nice. But what's nice for me is not nice for you. Some people like it this way, and some people like it that way. We try to get some unity, but unity only comes when I get rid of you. It's your unity. Get rid of it, then we have unity. No. It's just entangling more in karma. It's all entangling. There's a kind of an inkling of sentiment which may have some good points to it, but it doesn't solve the problem. Just puffing on a boil doesn't remove the boil. The problem still remains. We think with this body. We attach this false impression on our minds. Bhaktisiddhanta said the only change is a change of how we perceive the world, our perception, and that can be evoked. It's not by going to school or university, studying some mundane philosophy, speculating, trying to work it out with our limited senses. That cannot adakshi Krishnamdina Bhagavad. It cannot be understood with our senses. As long as the heart is impure, this is not possible to comprehend. You may have some faith in it. You have to purified by exposing ourselves. Exposing ourselves. Just like we're all the time we're exposing ourselves to different things. You walk down the street, you look in a shop, you see things in the shop, a picture is taken of some, the girl and the women are going down looking at the latest fashions, the latest handbags, and the latest shoes, and the men are looking at the latest electronic gadgets, and the latest electronic cigarettes, or whatever they're looking at. And it forms an impression in your heart. And you think, you start thinking about it. Just like the other day, some long story, I'll cut it short. They have to get a flask, a stainless steel flask, right? And for so long, there's so much discussion and meditation on a stupid flask. It's going to purify reality by meditating on what kind of stainless steel flask to get. You could say it could be used in Krishna service, so indirectly, yes. But we have to spend our whole day just doing things, meditating on what we're going to do. Where is Krishna? It's by meditating on the form of Krishna, the name of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna. Prabhupada says here, these words, manmanabhavanto, always engage your mind. Thinking of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. When we go to Krishna, we have to think of, it's when we think of things in the material world. For example, there's given a butterfly. Well, that's a bit different. What's it? A cocoon. No, there's one fly, or was it? The wasp captures this fly and hides it in some holes, and the fly, or the creature, the insect, is just seeing the wasp all the time, meditates on the wasp and becomes a wasp. It's by focusing our attention on something, or we focus our attention on so many things, many branches, but that determines our future. So we want to try what we want. We want to take birth as a vacuum flask in the next lifetime, or Mr. Trump, or whatever, a wall, or something like that. Some other form. Men meditating on women or something, and women on men. You take birth as a man or a woman. It's such a whole big thing. We think we're men and women. This is the disease condition of life. That determines next life. This life we may be women, don't worry, you were men in your last life. You may be women in the previous life. We're not one or the other. And then we get all hung up trying to establish ourselves as one or the other. In our liberation, get our rights, get this, get that. There's no such thing as an illusion. The whole purpose is to get out of this material world, not come back. We don't belong in this world. Oh, it is a normal life. People sometimes say, well, what about normal life? This isn't normal life. Having to get old, die, suffer diseases. Is it normal? What have you got wrong with your body right now? Tell me. Some complaint, the body and mind, isn't it? Almost always. Ranga smashed his head on your low-lying tree up there in the courtyard yesterday. Right? Always something going on. I'm mental distress. I got a little boil or something on the bottom of my tongue right now. It's always something, right? Words, something happened back home. Oh my goodness, oh my God. You lost your keys. Oh no. Someone broke into the car and stole my keys. The whole trip these days, because it's all digital stuff, You can do go to your home, open up, you can find it where it's open the door, deactivate. It's such a headache we're creating for ourselves. So much hassle yesterday. And believe it or not, obviously you know it quite well. I've got a bank account in Zurich, what to speak of elsewhere. The bank account couldn't be activated, right? And I found out why last night. I know the answer. Secret came through. Anyway, it was a bit of stress and there's no end. This is not natural life. It's only about natural things which we're accepting as natural. The baseline, the natural thing is to die. It's not natural to die. If it was natural, we'd want. Well, some people think they do. But generally, people don't want to die. We don't like getting diseased. Eh? You go to the doctor and then you say, the doctor says, what's wrong with you? You say, problem is I haven't got anything wrong. Can you give me some sickness, please? Have you got some nice sickness there? Well, what type do you want? Well, maybe tuberculosis or cancer. I haven't tried that one. Let me try that one. Do people do that? They have a shop. Disease shop. Get your diseases here. They call it hospital. You're supposed to cure disease. Sometimes you get disease. And material wood is that place. They think it's normal. They think we're crazy. Anybody in a shop to get diseases for? Going in there to suffer? To suffer. Nobody with a rightful mind would think of doing that. I mean, they may if they're disturbed in another way, but generally speaking, we don't. But we've done it. We're in this material world. We're so used to it, we think it's normal. You get used to things if you don't know anything else. Krishna's giving us an opportunity to understand something else. But as long as our heart is impure, we can't see it. We can't understand it. It's really just like eating meat and taking intoxicants. This covers our consciousness. We can't see this transcendental importance of, and understand this material world is not where we belong. And what the importance of spiritual life is, because we're still too attached, to this material world, but to material Krishna, told everybody to be habitanam, because we're too attached. Attached to sense enjoyment and identifying with this body and family and the world around us with me and mine. This is the disease. We don't recognize it as a disease. In fact, people will say you're diseased if you don't think like that. If you say, the problem is, I think I am my body. Go to the doctor and you say, yes, so what's your problem? Here we have Dr. Manhattan. What's your problem? He says, my doctor, dear doctor, please help me. I'm really sick. You look all right to me. I'm very, very, very sick. Well, what's the problem? I think I am my body. Oh, that's very serious. Very serious problem. Just hold on 1 minute. I'll be back. Is that a psychiatrist? I've got a very dangerous character here. I think you should come immediately with some armed guards and take him away quickly. He's mad. Completely mad. People may think like that sometimes, no? Yes, Prabhupada wrote one article, who is crazy? They think this idea is crazy, and you may think their idea is crazy. So if you think birth, death, disease, and old age, and the threefold miseries which are enforced upon us are normal and good, and we should do nothing about it except to try to improve the suffering, good on you. But Krishna's giving us a chance to wake up. Why live in a dream world where you're having sometimes a nice dream, sometimes a nightmare, bewildered, floating around in this material world, one life after life. Knowing or unknowingly, if somehow or another we remember Krishna, somehow or another, engage your mind always in thinking of me. Your works, your activities, your mind focused on me, intelligence focused on your work, dedicated to me. And this way you attain me without a doubt. It's the process to learn the science of yoga. It's not just withdrawing ourselves from the material world. That does not work. Not sufficiency. It does not work sufficiently. I can't remember. One who withdraws himself, his mind from the sense objects, draws his senses rather from the sense object, whose mind dwells on sense objects, is a pretender, is a fool. We've got to purify our minds also. And that starts, as Prabhupada describes in the third chapter, first canto, how we have to, as Suta Goswami says, now hear this. Now hear this, O sages. Hear this message of Krishna Katha with rapt attention. As I have heard it, I will try to explain it to you, but you must hear with rapt attention. If you hear with rapt attention, then you will see Krishna on the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Hearing, as we become so colored, kalatmika, by hearing so much material through the ears, through the nose, through the eyes, tongue, everywhere, different impressions, we become completely colored, and we accept that as the reality, is form a particular perception of truth. It is illusion. Bhagavatam starts off by establishing truth from illusion for the benefit of all. The material world is completely under the influence of the most, and it is changing. People's perception or understanding of the world changes regularly according to different factors affecting them. That's called relative understanding, relative truth. It is not absolute. Whether it's science, philosophy, or whatever it may be, education, it is relative. Krishna is giving us the path to realize absolute truth. The path is the practice of yoga. It's not simply exercise. It's by channel or changing our object of our goal of our life, in a sense, but the object of our vision. We have to purify our vision by Krishna is known as Pavitra. He's the purifier. He appears in many forms, the deity, the holy name, the transcendental Bhagavatam, the devotees. They are all simultaneously one. You can say variety is there also, but they're, because the pure devotee of the Lord can purify. When Vidura returned from his pilgrimage, he came to the court of the Kauravas, Pandavas at that time. And then, when he was received with this dear dress, that you were more than a place of pilgrimage. His place of pilgrimage may purify after long use, long association. But by a moment's association, Lavamatra, Sarva Shastra Koi Lava, and Sarvasanga, Sarva Shastra Koi Lavamatra, Lavamatra, as it goes. Sarvasanga, Sarva City of God. And by a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord, moment, we don't know it, it's so powerful. Just like Prabhupada said, it is my will, Krishna, that you please deliver them. The will of the devotee is very powerful, more powerful than anything. As we read yesterday in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, if you don't worship my devotees, it's like you're cutting my own body. They're more, just like you, some of you are parents, your children are more dear than your very self. If somebody says, I like you, but I don't like your son. Or your dog, nowadays it's dogs, not their children. I like you, but I don't like your dog, and you give the dog a mighty boot over the wall. The dog goes flying over the wall. How will the man feel? He'll give you a mighty boot. The dog is more dear to him than his very self, practically speaking. It is inseparable. Krishna's devotees are more dear to him than his very self. You can read it. Pastime of Ambrish and Rasamuni. They're so dear to him. Krishna protects and loves his devotees more than his very self. So all these various ways of becoming purified by association, Lord Kapila Deva, very wrong states. Every learned man knows that the greatest entanglement in this world is our attachment to material sense gratification. The same material passion. But that same attachment, when transferred to the self-realized souls, is the cause of one's freedom, deliverance from this world. And what do they teach us? They don't teach us probably to think of him. They said no. No, the pure devotees teach us to think of Krishna in his many forms. We need to think of the devotee because they're always with Krishna. Krishna's never alone. But the pure devotees always focus our attention by their living example, by their instructions, every way, to try to focus on Krishna. Therefore the Lord has appeared as Radha Bhava, Jagannath Baladev, Subhadra, Gauritai, and so many other ways. They're all non-different. They're all expansions of the Supreme Personality of God, giving everyone a chance to get his association. And particularly in this age, Kali Kalera, Namarupa Krishna Avatar, the Lord has appeared in the form of name. Sometimes French people say, well, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yada, Yada, Hidana, Svetani, and Bhagavad and so on. Why has he come now? Huh? Many people could ask that question right now, that's for sure. But unfortunately, they don't ask the question. They think the solution is an external one. It's not. Krishna has appeared now. He appeared last night in Swanston Street. And he's going to appear again today. South Bank today?
Where are you going?
Huh? Probably South Bank, 4 o'clock, South Bank. The Lord is appearing in the form of Sankirtan this afternoon. On the South Bank. East Bank, North Bank, West Bank, South Bank, every bank. Krishna's everywhere, but he reveals himself. So he's revealing himself on the South Bank this afternoon in the form of the Sankirtan. Otherwise he's there already, but people don't understand it. And the more, purity in the heart. Krishna reveals himself when the heart becomes pure. Isn't it? Isn't that the process? Krishna's already there. It's not, he's not there. It's just the Krishna Prem Saja Kavana, Shravanani Shubhachiti Kavayuda. He's already there. In fact, love for Krishna is already there, but we can't see. The heart has to become cleansed. By the process, Shravanani, hearing and chanting about Krishna. And automatically, just like the sun rises, everything becomes clear. And the spectator, it becomes clear. In the dark, everything's cloudy. And the spiritual master, through his instructions, is opening our eyes so we can see things clearly. Om Jnana Timrantasya Gnanjana Shlakya. It's opening our eyes, which are blinded by the darkness of ignorance, forgetting who we are, thinking I'm this body, this is mine. And constantly trying to adjust this material world. No, just adjust our inner consciousness by associating with Krishna. We realize Krishna's everywhere, never alone. There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to gain in this material world. The only gain is to get out of it. There's something to gain. I don't think there's something to gain. The real jewel is the process. Ultimate goal, the jewel is with Krishna himself and his devotees. But the jewel in terms of practice is that the means to get out of this material world, to get out of this wake up call. Lord Chaitanya is the wake up call. Jeev Jago, Lord Chaitanya. Wake up. You're sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya. Wake up. And they don't think that sleep. The person who's asleep doesn't know it. Doesn't know it. I'm saying we even get that experience. You try to wake brahmacharis up sometimes. Yeah, they don't want to wake up. If they are half awake, go away, leave me alone. Get out. I'm sleeping. Okay, some people want to sleep. What can you do? People want to sleep. What do you do? I don't want to wake up. Leave me alone. That's what they say. Basically, no time. Go away. Get a job. Go to sleep. Get lost. You're already lost. You get lost. Get found, my friend. Lost and found. They don't want to know. They're too busy meditating on the next object of suffering. That's sense of round and round on the merry-go-round. Not so merry sometimes. The Prabhupada says here that one should stress that one should concentrate his mind on Krishna 24 hours a day. Chant Hare Krishna 24 hours a day. Take prasadam 24 hours a day. That's a good idea. Go for Sankirtan 24 hours a day. Oh, would be nice. The very form with 2 hands, Prabhupada says clearly here. The very form with 2 hands carrying a flute, the bluish boy with a beautiful face and peacock feathers in his hair. None is more beautiful. Krishna is the most beautiful. Why do we meditate on some physical form? Isn't it? Meditate on it. You take the skin off, will you still meditate? Peel off the skin. Even they say love is, or beauty of it is skin deep. You take the skin off this world, They still have Miss World, I don't know. I'm not telling you should do it, but if someone were to take the skin off Miss World, would she be Miss World? Yeah. Oh goodness me, something's missing. Well, here it is. Have the skin. The only difference what you saw 5 minutes ago to what you see now is the skin. So take the skin. Big pile of, skin. Slimy skin. Yuck. Isn't it? When you take it, it's very, Maya's so clever, she puts all these yucky things together and makes a so-called beautiful form. Isn't it? The hairs, you pull all the hairs out, they're not really so beautiful. Neither is the head that had them. Oh, your teeth are so beautiful. Okay, here you go, have some. You've got beautiful eyes. Oh, darling, your eyes are so beautiful. Okay, if you like them, here you go. Leave me alone. You keep your eyes and let me go, okay? Here you go. Your nails, pull them off. Isn't it? And break it down. You've got, yuck, liquid beauty, you won't understand. You've got liquid beauty. But we're so captivated by it. And then, after a few years anyway, if it lasts that long, which it doesn't usually, the other object has changed its shape and form. There are crinkles, and it's a big fat belly sticking out, and a big fat bum, and, can't remember, and crinkles, and groaning and moaning. It's not what it was 50, 60, 70 years ago. Maya's so clever, captures us by the hook. And Krishna's more clever. He's the cleverest of clever. Cheat amongst cheats. Krishna's a cheat amongst cheats. So he's capturing everyone imperceptibly through the tongue, through the ears, through the eyes, through the nose, every way. Somehow or another, like Ambrish Maharaj, try to keep engaged, cleaning the temple, washing the pots, cleaning the windows, working in crossways, worshipping the deity, serving prasadam, giving donations for the service of the Lord, going on the street trying to chant Krishna's names, distributing books, and on and on and on. The list goes. Next week you have your Rath Yatra festival in St. Kilda. Right, Jagannath. And he's giving his darshan to all the fortunate souls of St. Kilda who are on their way back to Godhead. Unless anyone who sees Jagannath on the Rath car is on their way back to Godhead. You can't stop him. That impression will be in their hearts. They saw. They don't know who he is. He's a funny thing on top of a chariot. But he's not. He's Jagannath. And he captures him. The form with 2 hands. There are descriptions of Krishna found in the Brahma Samhita and other literatures. Baba describes when we read the pastime of Gajendra, the elephant, and how he was delivered from the crocodile, by remembering the impressions of his previous lifetime. And there Prabhupada describes how we should therefore, as he practiced in his previous lifetime, he committed an offense and became an elephant, a dumb animal, to a sadhu. But he remembered that crucial point, the prayers of his previous lifetime, and he started to repeat them, and thus he was delivered. So Prabhupada says we should remember prayers, especially the Brahma Samhita. He mentioned the Brahma Samhita, to chant the Brahma Samhita, the beautiful prayers describing, just like one is mentioned in the purport of the Bhagavatam today, Prananjana Chita Bhakti Vilochani Santak Sadeva Vilayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shan Sundaram Achitra Nasvarupam Govinda Purusham Tamaham Gacchami. It's only when the eyes are tinged with the salve of love can we actually see this form. By practicing devotional service, gradually that natural awakening of our attraction may not be loved in the beginning, but our attraction to devotional service. And by engaging our senses in various ways in the service of Krishna, gradually we become purified at the anartas, you become steady, and then you get a real taste for hearing, chanting, and remembering about Krishna. And Krishna removes all the coverings in the heart when you become attached to Krishna. Then love of God starts to grow. It comes in association with a pure devotee. Somebody who can give us this opportunity. They give us this mercy. Vishnu Prabhupada is giving the world an opportunity to us. That's why he wants temples everywhere, Harinam everywhere, books everywhere, prasadam everywhere, whatever, programs everywhere. Because this will deliver everywhere and everybody. If not immediately, but gradually, their consciousness will become purified by exposure to Krishna or things related directly to Krishna, such as various services and so on. And that's the process. And Prabhupada goes on to say, this is how we change our consciousness. One should fix his mind on the original form of Godhead, Krishna. One should not even divert his attention to other forms of the Lord. Some people may, because they've got an internal bow, but we're not on that level. So Prabhupada is saying we should fix our consciousness on Krishna. The Lord has multi-forms, like Vishnu, Narayan, Ram, Varaha, etc. But a devotee should concentrate his mind on the form that was present before Arjuna. Concentration of the mind on the form of Krishna constitutes the most confidential part of knowledge. And this is disclosed to Arjuna, because Arjuna is the most dear friend of Krishna's. So we may say, I'm not a dear friend of Krishna. But if you, somehow or another, if someone assists, comes into contact with, follows a dear devotee of Krishna, they become dear to Krishna. By serving Srila Prabhupada in any way, knowingly or unknowingly, one is dear to Krishna. And one becomes eligible to receive this transcendental mercy and be delivered from this material world. Focus our attention. Prabhupada finishes in the purport regarding Lord Shiva's taking the water on his head and how this is very powerful in regards to today's verse. Srila Prabhupada said, therefore, the meditative yogi should meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a very long time. We don't need to artificially implement that. We just need to follow in the footsteps of Ambarish Maharaj and try to keep ourselves engaged as much as we can in devotional service, which is not different. This is like the hand, the merciful hand of the Lord coming into this world. Take hold of that hand and yet pull us back. Worship the deity nicely. Keep the temple clean. Keep your heart as clean as we can. Engage in service. Try to share Krishna consciousness with others. Only take Krishna prasadam. In other words, try to do things which will please Krishna, as given to us by Srila Prabhupada. And that will fulfill the object of meditation on the lotus feet of the Lord. You can literally do it too. We used to go on Sankirtan in the early 70s. Nobody would go out without a picture of the lotus feet of the deity. Rather under the short. Wherever we go, we would always have that picture right in our pocket or right next to us. We regularly pick it out and meditate on our feet to remind us what we're doing. What is it we're doing? What is it for? To offer everything at our lotus feet. To make those lotus feet our crown. And you can inherit the kingdom of God. Okay, I'm finished there. Any comments or questions?
Raj, you just reminded me, I can't remember where I read it. I haven't seen you for a while. It's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
I was just remembering that, you just reminded me, forgive me for not remembering where it was, about the fruit of Bhakti Yoga being ever-increasing self-realization.
Fruit of Bhakti Yoga ever-increasing?
Self-realization.
Ever-increasing
Self-awareness.
Yeah, it is. That will be, and of course, in the beginning, the point I was making is that the fruit of Bhakti Yoga is ever-increasing self-realization. And what is self-realization? In the beginning, it may not take a form which is seemingly perhaps what people perceive as self-realization. It may take different forms. There's purification. There's preparation work. Before you eat a meal, there's so much preparation that takes place. It doesn't even look like anything valuable there at all. We've got a few cooks here. You're buying something, or chopping, or cleaning something, or cooking, or cutting something, including your hands sometimes. And so many things are going on in the preparation. Maybe there's some friction between the cutters or the cookers or whatever it is. The cooker's not working, you've got to clean it. There's so many things you may have to do before you really get the fruit of the work. But those who know that this is part of the process. Otherwise we would think, what is this? I'm just cutting vegetables. What's the use of this? They're just unedible vegetables. I can't eat a raw potato. This is ridiculous. What's the use of this? I'm just cleaning a lump of metal. I want to eat. I want to taste the nectar. That's part of the process. In devotional service, there are many stages. Some of them seem negative. Where we kind of lose things, or just not. Things aren't going the way we thought they might go. I chanted Hare Krishna and things aren't going well. I lost my job. I fell down. My wife told me to get stuff. What's happening around here? Not that that has to happen, but sometimes certain things to clear the path have to be there. Sometimes when there's a jungle, the path has to be cleared before you can start moving. And then, step by step, you see the signs. You've got to know what the symptoms are. Self-realization is not just summing up with the theories. It's a practical thing. And of course, on a higher platform, as we move forward, then there will be maybe different symptoms. But it's a fact. The practice of Bhakti Yoga develops, awakens, and Krishna himself says in the 4th chapter, one who applies himself to this knowledge, realizes this knowledge in due course of time. One has realized that Chikshava Mandana He has seen or realized with one's own vision within, not just theoretical, but it's true experience. They may not be seeing Krishna here, there, everywhere. There's Krishna, there's Krishna. Where does he begin? Where does he end? It's like, where do the little Krishnas begin and end? But remember, when you look at something or somebody or someone says something to us, we remember Krishna. It's Krishna's energy working. Even at work, when the boss gets on your case, it's Krishna's energy working. Maybe it's the mode of passion or ignorance, and you're in the mode of ignorance, or whatever. It's incompatible interaction. But it's Krishna's energy working there. You realize, wait a minute, what you're watching on the mind is not us, it's just the modes of nature in karma, just showing us different reactions according to where we enter. It's like it's a television program, a very incredible one. And we're identifying with it, and thus we get affected by it. Self-realization includes not being so affected by it. We're out to say, thank you, Krishna. This is an opportunity to become free of this illusion. An opportunity to take shot with you. That's where self-realization at a certain stage. There's many, many different angles. And Krishna's always working for the welfare of everyone. And the devotee is even more merciful. Even more merciful. Take that mercy, persevere, be patient. And anything else?
We just read in the purport that pure devotee is not different from the Lord himself. But isn't that something dangerous?
Yeah, if it's misunderstood, it sounds like impersonalism or something. And unfortunately, without an understanding of what that means, it turns into impersonalism, and whole religions of the world today are going in that direction. Because they have very little, if any, understanding of the nature of God and what it means that the Lord and I are one. They don't understand the meaning. My brother said something like that in 1966 at the very first initiation in New York, the night before. And it was, many of you know the history, we'll get into it. The words were not exactly prepared for initiation. It was like, who would like to take initiation tomorrow? Well, think about it. It might be, no. What does it mean? And then Prabhupada, what does it mean, Prabhupada, Swamiji? It means you have to accept the spiritual master as God. The bells went off. Because all along, Swamiji had been saying, and he'd been coming for 2 weeks, but during those 2 weeks, the older devotees who'd been coming for 2 weeks to Swamiji's lectures had heard Swamiji say, anyone who says that their God is dog. And now he's saying we've got to worship him as God. What does that mean? It blew my mind, I don't know. Blow me away. So one of the boys, Kikan, he wasn't in the sea, he wasn't in the sea. But he said, well, in one sense you're only worshipping him like that. What do you go and ask him? So they did go and ask Prabhupada. No, not as God, as the representative of God. And therefore, as a representative, you worship him like God. Just like if you know the ambassador or something, you may or may not, but in one sense he represents the government, whichever government he's representing. You should respect him, not worship him. Respect him as you would the government. You may not respect the government, so you won't respect the ambassador, but in principle you would. Or the queen sends some vice versa. They represent, so those pure devotees represent Krishna. They don't just represent Krishna, they're the gateway. They're the gateway by which we can, access or come to Krishna. They carry Krishna in our hearts. They purify everything. They're full of Krishna's with every single thing. Krishna's manifesting through them. He appears. This is how we contact Krishna, through the pure devotees. Krishna manifests through the pure devotees of the Lord. He doesn't directly manifest himself, especially to persons who are impure. But through the pure devotees, he's manifesting. So the devotee understands this Chincha Veda Veda Tat, that they're one and different. One in purpose, they have no other objective other than to please Krishna, and to serve Krishna, to love Krishna. But different in the sense that they are the servant to God. Prabhupada says, servant to God. When the devotees went to Prabhupada in New York, Prabhupada had not God, but as good as God. Because that is passed on. It's the same in every walk of life. You're working for a boss who's under a boss, who's under a boss. And the boss that you're working under is not the big boss, but he represents the big boss. You can't directly go to the big boss, you have to go through to the boss who's under at that time. It's a system, a simple system of understanding. Otherwise, without an understanding of who the boss is, then you think my boss is the big boss. He's the only boss, and your little boss is not the big boss. Your little boss is the devil. Mine is the big boss. Your so-called big boss is not the big boss, he's the devil. And neither one of them know the big boss. They know the little boss. 6 blind men who went to an elephant debate. You all see the elephant differently and fight over it. Because they're all blind. Without understanding, without leadership, without leadership to explain it, at least help people on the path, like children on the path, and we get these misunderstandings. We think error is the absolute, is the big one. But it's not. It's insignificantly small. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi. Krishna Bhagavatam ki jai. Bhishmastami ki jai. Today is Bhishmastami. Is that the day that Bhishma ascended? Bhishmastami? I think it is. The day when he decided to quit his body. Bhishmastami. I think so. The sun is now in the northern direction, and he spoke for some time, and he left his body. I believe it's today. Anyway, if it's not, it's his birthday, or it's his ascendant day, or whatever it is. Jai Shri Bhagavad.